Welcome back, Couch Potatoes.
Welcome
I have
back.
something to say.
Oh no, what?
If you're watching this on YouTube, turn it off and open Spotify.
Hey, speak for yourself. Just
Yeah.
kidding. Do what she just said.
Do not mind our appearances today, okay?
It's our first audio only episode.
We're tired. We're hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, it's been rough lately, I'll be honest. For both of us.
What's going on, dude? It must be the moon.
It's always the moon. That damn thing. I love her, but she's dangerous.
Can't live with her, can't live without her.
Yeah.
So it's been... I don't even know what it's been. Does it kind of feel like the last week has been just a big blur?
Yeah.
I don't remember anything. Nothing.
Yeah. It's funny. I went and got happy hour drinks on Friday, and they asked me
May date recap.
they asked me, the friend I was with asked me if what I did that day.
Yeah.
And I actually couldn't remember anything I did on that day.
Dude. I had my May date weekend and I have to write it down ASAP or else I feel like I'm going to forget it all.
Yeah.
Because it's already feeling like a blur. Why is everything blurry?
I don't know. It's going by too fast.
We did something fun last week.
Did we?
We went to a foodie festival.
Oh my God. Yeah. We didn't talk about it in our last episode, but if you watched on YouTube the last two episodes, I think.
Yeah.
We recorded it after we went to this foodie land place. So if you see me drinking out of a baby bottle,
like a giant
one,
baby
not
bottle.
a real baby bottle. I got it at the festival. I don't just have that as a bottle.
And that concludes our episode.
That's it. Thanks for listening.
Anyways, so welcome back, Couch Potatoes. This is episode 18.
Whoa, dude.
I know, we're almost to season 2.
We're officially adults. We did want to talk about something more serious and have a real sit down, genuine, open conversation about the topic that we're going to discuss.
And it's something we've never talked about, really.
No, not really.
I can't think of a time that we've talked about it.
No, me either.
It's not anything super deep. It's just kind of fun.
And I think it'll spark a lot of conversation between us, and hopefully for whoever is listening, I don't know, maybe it'll spark something.
Yeah.
You can always send us stories if anything sparks your interest or advice or whatever. We probably won't take your advice, but you can send it.
Keep trying.
Keep trying.
It's kind of two topics in one. We want to talk about our childhoods, but specifically how our parents raised us and things that our parents did that we really liked, things that we would do differently as parents.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about what kind of mom we think we'd be.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. It's just fun to think. I feel like I've never been at a point where I'm I want to be a mom right now so bad.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm getting to the age where I'm excited about the thought of it, I don't want a kid right now.
No.
I'm not in a position to have a kid right now, but I'm really excited to have that one day.
Yeah. And I think I went a very, very long time believing that I wouldn't have kids. I didn't want them at all. There was no part of me that wanted them. And I mean, I'm only 28. So I don't know. I feel I don't know, being 18, there was just no part of me that wanted a child. But I understood people that did. They wanted to be a mom. I personally didn't want that for a very long time. I was I'll have a couple dogs.
Yeah. See, I knew that I wanted kids, but then there were times where I was I have no desire to have a kid. But it was something that I knew I would want eventually. I just knew I wasn't ready. And so the thought of it was a no-go for me.
Yeah. And I was just straight no, I don't think I'm ever going to have kids. And then I feel in the past few years, I've kind of changed my tune. And I know that I'll have kids one day. I'm going to have kids. And I think for me, it's one of those things of now I'm so set on it that I'm I don't need a husband for that.
No, this is real because we actually just had the conversation last week a few days ago.
No,
even
literally. Yeah.
About like, obviously, like we both want to get married and like have kids the traditional
have a family.
way.
Yeah.
But we also are like, I think we have really high like standards for like relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And we both are like, no matter what, we're not going to settle.
Yeah.
So if it gets to a point where we're like super, super ready to have, this is like individually. Okay. We're not talking about together.
Yeah.
To be clear.
Although I would have a kid with Kelsey if it really came down to it.
If we really needed to. We're like talking about seriously how eventually I'd be okay. You'd be okay. Like with getting like a sperm donor. And just having a kid on your own.
Yeah. I think too, it's becoming something that's a lot more popular in terms of publicity now.
Yeah.
That's positive. Because I feel like before people like, well, and people still do like look down upon doing that, like, and like going to a sperm bank. Choosing to be a single
mother, raising a kid without a father figure, all those arguments. Yeah.
But I feel like nowadays it's getting more and more like common, I guess. And even like if you watch Vanderpump Rules, like Lala's doing that, like with her second kid. And I thought it was really cool how she like, there was a whole episode about it. And like, she's talking so openly about it. Cause I just feel like you don't see it that often.
No, you don't.
At all. And I like, when we have that conversation, it's something that like, listen, like we all have a biological clock at some point or another. And the older you get, especially when you reach like middle age, it gets harder and harder to like actually physically and chemically like in your body, like have a kid. So to a point where I'm not in a relationship or I am like just very happily single, but I want a child and I have the means to bring the child into the world. Like I'm so not against doing that.
Yeah. I think that for me, the desire to have a kid hasn't been there so much until like recently, like in the last probably 2 to 3 years. I've been like, no, I know that I want a kid eventually. Like I know that's something that I really, really
want. I just want a mini-me.
Yes, like I want that so bad now. Like not right now, but I know for sure that that's what I want in my future.
Oh yeah, I'm terrified,
but
to have one, especially right now. Yeah, but I know I'll still be terrified when it comes down to it.
And I want to like do that with my husband for sure, like ideally. But I think that I also wouldn't let, like I don't want to not have like this thing that I know for sure I want because I'm waiting for the right guy.
Right. I mean, if you're having trouble getting pregnant, there's always IVF. I feel like there's like a million and one well, no, there's not. There's quite a few more options than there ever has been for like having children, which I think is really cool. And I think like just going back to our conversation we had the other day, like we went through each one. And we were like, I mean, if it really comes down to it, like we do have so many options.
Yeah. Like adoption even. Like there's so
even
many
at this
things.
age, like we could even freeze our eggs if we really wanted to. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Something to keep in mind.
Something to think about. Anyways, that's not even what we were going to talk about today.
This is going to be a really long episode.
So we want to talk about, things from our childhood and like what kind of moms we want to be. So
yeah.
I think I want to start with like just how like things that I specifically remember really loving as a kid or like looking back on now and being like, I'm so glad my parents did that with me, and things that I feel the opposite about or like, oh, I wish my parents would have done this.
Yeah.
So the very first thing that pops into my head, and this is kind of sad, but one thing that I know for sure I want to do differently than my parents is every single one of my kids will have braces. Because I wanted them so bad. First of all, I thought they were cool as a kid.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, I want to be in the braces
It was cool because you could get different color, like rubber bands.
Yeah. It specifically like 3rd grade. I remember really being like, I want braces. Everyone has them. They're so cool. And now as an adult, I'm like, I wish I had braces, because I even before I moved here went to the orthodontist because I was like, I just want braces on like my bottom teeth. Like that's it. And he he like did a little examination, and I'm thinking it's gonna be a simple fix. Like, they're not that bad. I just need like braces for like 6 months and they'll be good, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't do Invisalign because it was the dentist told me it was too complicated for just Invisalign, which should have made me think that it wasn't gonna be a simple fix. Yeah. Anyways,
I would love to get Invisalign now.
I know. Same. It's not an option for me. The orthodontist told me that in order to like get them how I would want them, he would have to take 2 teeth from the bottom out, take 2 teeth from the top out.
What do you mean?
And I'd have to have a full set of braces for minimum 2 years and minimum $8,000. Yeah. I was 24 at the time, and I cried the whole way home. So, and then I was so mad at my parents.
On the other end of that, my parents, all 3 of us got braces at some point. My brother or sister, they both had them on like quite a bit longer than me. I was just like blessed with really good teeth, I guess. But I think I had mine on. I only had 1 set for like less than a year.
Wow.
But I did have a retainer or an expander.
Oh.
For quite a bit too. I remember my mom had to like
spacer. Did you ever have a spacer at any point?
What's that? Is that the same thing as an expander?
It's like when you have a tooth growing in and your other 2 teeth are kind of blocking it, they put a spacer between those 2 teeth so that tooth can grow in. You never had one of those?
Never.
Oh my God, I forgot that was a thing. I had one for
Was it just not growing in straight? Why did they have to do that?
No, the 2 teeth that it was growing between were like in the way. So they had to like push them apart a little bit.
No, I never had that. But fun fact about me, I still have 1 baby tooth.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm. It has no adult tooth under it.
Where is it? I want to see it.
Or above it. It's over here somewhere. I don't know which one exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's top right.
Interesting.
Somewhere. And every single time I go to a new dentist, they're like so shook.
That's wild.
Yeah, and they're like literally shook every single time, and they like start asking me a million questions, and I'm like, I just have always had it.
That's insane.
And it's like stuck up in there. It's not coming out.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Have they ever said they like want to remove it?
They've said that there's no reason to, but if it starts to obviously get like wiggly or something, or if I get like a cavity in it that's bad enough, they would just take it out and I would have to get a fake tooth. Mm-hmm. But she's in there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is that something as a parent that is important to you? Is that your kids have braces?
Yeah, I think so. I think I also took it for granted. Now, like listening to you talk about it, because that was just like the thing that we did.
Yeah. I specifically remember my dentist when I was a kid telling my parents that I didn't need them.
Really?
Which I think I didn't need them for any like health reasons or like anything like that. It was like strictly aesthetic. And back then I don't think it was as big of a thing. Like I felt like most people had braces because they needed them, like their teeth were like growing in sideways and stuff.
See,
you know,
I think I firmly believe that I didn't actually need them, and then our orthodontist was just a money grabber. Because I truly don't think I needed them, because I don't remember that far back into my life, to be completely honest with you, like the details. But I'm pretty sure I didn't really need them. But my brother and my sister had them. But I don't know, because that was just never something I thought about. It was just like something my parents did. It was just part of the process.
Yeah.
It was pretty much like, you get to this age and we go to the orthodontist.
You know what? That's the difference.
Yeah.
I never went to the orthodontist because I think my parents were like, if we take the kids to the orthodontist, every single orthodontist is going to tell us they need braces.
Yeah,
because that means they get our money. Mm-hmm. So they would ask the dentist, who the dentist doesn't care about like what it looks like. The dentist
as long
cares
as your
about
teeth are healthy.
Yeah, if they're growing in correctly and that sort of thing. So all 3 kids, none of us had braces. Yeah. And all of us have like pretty straight teeth. My sister's teeth are like perfectly straight.
Yeah.
And I think my brother's are like decent. He does have Invisalign now, so his are like even straighter. So now mine are the worst. Great. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I think genetically my family just has really good teeth or something. I don't know.
So it's interesting.
I was obviously like privileged enough to even be able to like do that.
Yeah.
Like all three of us were.
Yeah, because it's expensive. Our insurance didn't cover that either. I remember that being a thing too.
I don't remember that. If it did or it didn't. I was too young to even know what that meant, to be honest.
I just remember my parents talking about it. So, and now I understand.
But I do remember
I understand
getting, sometimes the orthodontist would let us get 2 colors in our braces.
Yeah.
I remember doing that.
That's so fun. Oh, another big one. And I just don't think this was really that much of a thing back then. So like no fault to my mother at all. But I'm going to make skincare super important to my kids.
Yeah. I
like
think
sunscreen.
Yeah. I was going to say like lotion
like,
and SPF for sure. Because I feel like when you're a kid, you don't really need anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Just like totally. SPF is like so important.
Yes. I never wear sunscreen on my face till recently. And I really regret it.
Yeah, I think
also no tanning beds. Sorry, not happening.
Yeah, that is something that my family did.
I did it. I worked at a tanning salon. I tanned all the time.
We had a tanning bed in our basement.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had our own. My parents didn't like us being like super pale, and they would make fun of us when we got like really, really pale, and they would literally tell us to go into the tanning bed for like 5 to 6 minutes.
I bet you they didn't know how bad tanning beds were.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Yeah, there's no
because
way.
literally everyone that would come over, like my friends, my parents' friends, like actual adults and children, everyone was like, "That's so cool!"
Yeah.
Like, can I go in it?
And I'm like, had that, it would be like frowned upon.
Yeah, we used to have one. Like this is gonna make me sound so bougie, but like my childhood was very privileged. For anyone who doesn't know me that's listening, but I grew up in the Midwest, so also keep that in mind. If we weren't like out west in California where things are like so much more expensive, but we had like a stand-up tanning bed. You just like stood in it.
That's nice.
And then when we moved houses, we got a brand new tanning bed, but it was a lay down one.
Oh, that's like a downgrade. The stand-up ones are so cool.
But the lay down one was technically a better bed. Yeah, like it was technically an upgrade, but yeah, I'd rather stand in it because when you lay in it, at least before it heats up, it's so cold.
And then you get so sweaty, you're like slipping around in there.
Yeah, it's so gross. But yeah, honestly, it's so hard because I love a tan.
Yeah, I know.
You probably can't tell if you're watching this right now, but I love to have a tan. And it just makes me feel so better mentally that like I also like, no, I don't want my kids to go in tanning beds. But if like I'm a mom and they come home and they're like, "Mom, I went to the tanning salon today," I'd be like, "Oh, like that's really bad for your skin."
Like, how can I tell them no when I literally worked at a tanning salon?
Well,
but I could be like, because I worked at a tanning salon, I understand. I have seen the people who spend every day in a tanning bed. Not happening. I was working one time and one of the beds like caught fire basically and there was smoke everywhere.
Shut up.
And we had to call, I forget what happened because I was definitely there, but I wasn't the lead that shift. It was like very early on. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And it was like a very scary situation.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I forget the end of it, but like it was fine. I think we just shut off all the beds for a while and then turned it back on. And like closed that one for the night and like called maintenance or something. But there was so much smoke. It was so scary.
That's so scary.
Yeah, I think I would maybe explain that to my kids.
Yeah.
But there's
also more research now on how bad they are for you.
Yeah. And there's so many really good tanning lotions out there too. Yeah. Like it's
just so exhausting.
It's harder to keep up with and everything, but they work really well sometimes, and I feel like that's a good alternative like when you really need a tan.
But nothing compares to being a natural tan from the sun.
Yeah, nothing
compares, honestly.
It's the best. You feel so much more confident.
Yeah, it feels so good.
It's the best. I love being tan.
But no, I agree with that one. And I also, just as this popped into my mind at the beginning, and I haven't said it yet, but we're not saying these things to like offend
Oh my gosh.
Anyone that
does
them,
you want to do, we support you.
Yeah. Or like even offend our own parents if they're by chance listening. Because I feel like no one has like the handbook on how to be like a perfect parent. And I feel like part of like the relationship that you have with your parents is learning that. Mm-hmm. So then as you guys are going down the line and having children and grandchildren and whatever, mm-hmm. like everyone's just learning from each other and learning like how to be an adult and how to be like a good mom or a good dad. Like
this is how humans evolve.
Yeah. No, literally. But like my parents were 18 when they had my brother, and they were 23 by the time they had all three of us.
That's
so
wild.
It's like no one's going to be perfect at 18 through 23.
Right.
You're at 23 and you have,
I can't even imagine having a
like,
kid at that age.
A newborn and a 5-year-old. Like,
that's wild.
That's crazy.
And one in between.
Like
what was she, 9 months old when you were born, or 10?
Yeah, my sister and I are 10 months apart. Don't ask any questions. We're Irish twins, so she was born in February of 1995, and I was born in December of the same year.
That is wild.
Yeah. I try not to think about it too much, like, because it's like really cool.
Isn't it weird that like if someone asks you what year you're born, you're like 95, then they ask your sister and she's like 95? That's weird, right?
Yeah. People are like, I think that's happened to us before, and they're like, are you guys twins? And we're like, no. And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah, and then I have a 5-year age gap with my older brother. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if I were to have followed in the same footsteps, I would have my oldest kid right now would be 10 years old.
Oh my God.
Or like almost 10. He would be at least 9.
Can you imagine?
No. We just had the whole conversation about how we haven't wanted kids.
That's insane. That is actually wild to think about.
I know.
Okay. What were we talking about before that? Oh, the playbook.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're not trying to, like, honestly, it's hard for me to even, like, think of anything. Like, those are the only two things that pop out. Braces and skincare. Like, those are such little things that, like, are so...
Yeah.
My parents were the best parents ever, like the best. And if my personality weren't so wildly different from my mom's, I would say that I want to be like her. But I know that I'll never be her because my personality is so different. But I want to be like the same style of a mom as she was. Like she was just always supportive, always there at all of my games and like everything growing up. Like I got to do everything that I wanted to do. Like I got to play for like elite soccer clubs and like I got to do this stuff, and I'm sure it was like so expensive and so much time, and like I never had any idea that was like even a thing because my parents never complained. They never said anything. Like they always were just like happy to take me to practice, happy to attend all my games, like genuinely excited for all of it. And that's the kind of mom I want to be. Like, I just want to be someone who, like, my kids know that they can come to, and, like, I'm there for everything.
And also that they can count on you to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I will be there.
Yeah.
Like, I will always be there.
I think that's funny. And because I think that's something that I would change with my childhood. And it's going to sound sad, and that's why I wanted to say I didn't want to like say anything that would like offend my own parents, because that's not how I mean it. But my parents were both like obviously very busy individuals, and were so young and had 3 of us to take care of so young. But I think one thing for me when I have kids, I know it's hard. It's easy to say no, because when you're a mom and you're an adult, and if you're working full-time or a full-time mom, like there's a million and one things that could happen. But one thing I want to like prioritize is also just like being there, like going to games, going to like performances, like whatever it may be. I want to be at all of like their things, no matter what it is, because I think a hard thing that I learned was that like, or looking back now, is learning that because my parents didn't come to everything. And when I was in youth, they came to like most things because they had to be, at least one of them had to be.
Right.
And I'm doing sports. I was doing cheerleading. And then my brother was doing hockey. So sometimes those things kind of like
They were at the same time.
Yeah, they were at the same time.
Yeah, my parents would not like have to like split up sometimes. Like dad goes one place, mom goes the other.
Yeah, but I think like when they didn't, I don't like both my parents never really came to all of like my things. And I don't know. I think there were even some like competitions in like high school that like my parents wouldn't even come to because it was like just they had to travel to it. Not saying that my parents were lazy, but they were like, oh, like you're good. It's a cheer competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I understand it if it's like not your thing, but I don't know. I feel like as a parent, like I'm going to want to be there because I see TikToks all the time of like little kids at like a little like choir, like elementary school or like middle school age kids even, and they're at a performance or at a game and they don't expect like their parents to be there, and like their aunt or like their older sibling or someone shows up to watch and they're like filming them and they like film the reaction to when that kid realizes that someone's there for him.
Oh my gosh, yes. And they get it matters. Like they get visibly like they light up.
Yeah, and I think not that my parents did anything wrong in that aspect at all. And like I didn't feel like I didn't matter. I think as a kid, but yeah, like it matters to show up.
Yeah. I actually like have this conversation with my dad sometimes because both my parents like genuinely loved being at our things and were very supportive, but I think especially with me for soccer, like given the level that I played at, like I don't think he ever dreamed ever that he would have a kid that played a Division I sport. Like he has told me that. He's like, I never in a million years thought that my kid would play a Division I sport. Yeah. And there's tons and tons and tons of kids who play Division I sports, but like he just never like thought that would be a thing. Yeah. And so he, I think, took like a lot of pride in me playing soccer in college.
Oh my gosh, of course.
And so we like talk about it sometimes. And I remember like I've dated athletes before and there was one relationship that was like pretty long with an athlete. And my like favorite thing to do was to watch him play his sport. Like it was my favorite thing. I loved it so much. And I remember like telling my dad about it. I was like, Dad, I just love watching him play. Like it's my favorite thing. Yeah. Like I will clear my schedule to watch him play.
Yeah. I've never dated an athlete, but like, I understand how you feel. Yeah. Because I don't know. I feel that way with like, just like my friends and family when they ever did anything growing up. Like I wanted to go. Yes. Like my favorite thing was to watch somebody that I love to do something.
Yeah. Okay. So this will like resonate with you then because I'm telling him this and my dad goes, just wait until you have kids. And so I'm like, if I feel that way about someone that I'm dating, imagine like how much you're going to love watching your kids do that stuff.
Yeah. Like especially if you have multiple kids, I can understand that it becomes a lot and you still have a full life and family to attend to and take care of.
Yeah. You can't physically be at every single kid's every practice and every game. Like that's not possible.
But I just feel like I'm going to want to try my best to be at everything. Yeah. And to be at everything I possibly can because I know I'll probably be also working full time. I imagine that's what I have planned for myself at least. Yep. But I'm going to try like my best. I feel like, I mean, I can say it right now that I'm going to try and be in everything that I can.
Yeah. That's something that I'm like a good thing that my parents did that like, I'm like, I want to be like my parents in that sense.
Like my parents when they would come, like it just like meant so much to me. Like it was like I always was so much happier when they were there because I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know, like it mattered to me that they were there.
Yeah, totally, it does matter. I have another one.
What?
I think this is a good one. Okay, another thing that my parents did that I really like that I want to be like as a parent, and I want my husband to be like this as a parent. So like, I don't know. I feel like it has to be both sides. Is my parents were not strict at all. And I think that I want to be more strict in certain areas. Yeah. But in general, like hanging out with friends, going and making plans, doing stuff, like living life, doing teenager things. My parents always let me do everything, and they would just be like, we trust you.
Yeah.
And because I knew they trusted me, I didn't want to mess up. And I was such a good kid in high school. Like,
me too.
I did not drink. I did not party. I did not do anything.
Literally same.
And I think a big part of that was soccer and not wanting to get kicked off the soccer team or do anything to jeopardize soccer.
Yeah.
And I think the other big part of it was that my parents trusted me, and I did not want to lose their trust. Like, it was very important to me that they trusted me.
Yeah. My parents were very similar. Like, they weren't really strict. Looking back, it's hard because I start to think of like how different like my brother, my sister, and my childhood was, like, just between the three of us.
Yeah.
Because for me, my parents weren't strict, but I was the same exact way. And I think for me, it was looking at my brother and my sister get in trouble for like stupid shit that they did.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that'll get me in trouble. I won't do that.
Oh my God.
I don't like that. So like I learned from them to not do certain things. So I was such a good kid, and my parents trusted me.
Yeah. I think that, and not every situation is the same.
No, of course not. There's
obviously.
always going to be exceptions for anyone like listening.
Yeah. And you can disagree with me. That's fine. I'm not saying I'm right by any means.
No,
but
never.
I feel like strict parents really do raise sneaky kids because they're still going to do the things they want to do. But instead of being honest with their parents and telling them what they're doing,
they're going to hide it.
They're going to like sneak around because their parents are strict and wouldn't let them do it.
Yeah. My parents, like, they were strict in like different areas, but I also think that with certain things they were more strict about because they learned it the hard way.
Yeah.
Like with my brother or like with my sister. So they were like more strict with me about some things, and I'd be like, okay, like that's fine.
Yeah.
I literally go to school, work, or practice, and then I go home and do my homework and eat dinner and go to bed.
Yeah.
That's what I did every day.
You know, one thing that my parents were strict about that I loved is you don't quit anything.
Yeah.
Like, there were so many days where I did not want to go to practice. And I was like, please, can I just like call in sick? Like, please, can you like, can I just miss this one? They did not let me skip. My parents were the same exact way. And they did not let me quit. Like, I don't remember really ever wanting to quit anything, but I do remember things getting really hard and my parents being like, quitting is not an option. Like, you will see this through until the end. You made a commitment to this team. You're going to fulfill that commitment. And then the other thing that they were strict about was, specifically my dad was strict about like how we talked to our mom. Like, if we talked back to her, my dad, I've seen him mad maybe 5 times in my life. And
that must
all of them have been either my brother, who's a genius, doing horrible in school because he wasn't trying, or us talking back to our mom. If we talk back to our mom, he like instant rage. And I love that. Like, that is so, to me, that is like, my dad just respects my mom so much and knows how much work she puts in for us that he is not going to let us disrespect her.
Yeah. My dad was very, very similar. I think what it sounds like too, like for your parents too, like my parents raised us to be very polite and to be good people. Yeah. At the end of the day. And I think how we spoke to people, especially adults as kids, was very important. It was very important. It was always please and thank you. Like, ma'am, sir, Mr., Mrs., whatever. Like, it was all very polite. Yeah. And it was all very like proper. Yeah. How we had to speak to adults. Like, even how we answered the phone. Like, if I answered the phone before my parents did, or if I was the only one home and I had to answer it, which wasn't very often because I hate talking on the phone, especially as a kid. I don't know. It always scared me to answer the phone for some reason. Yeah, same. So it was always like, hi, like, thanks for calling the Lozon household. Like, how can I help you? Or like,
how can I help you?
I said something. It was like, hi, or like, hi, you've reached the Lozon household. But I feel like I said something else, but like, I don't know. I just remember we had to pick up the phone that way when we had a landline.
That is so funny. Okay, mine were definitely strict about like please and thank you and manners and that sort of thing, but I don't remember having to answer the phone.
Yeah. Well, our parents raised like the three of us to be, I feel like, very proper when we talked to other people, and I feel like I agree that it is like so important, and that I want to teach like my children that too. Like, I want to raise them that way because I feel like the three of us, I can still, well, most of the time, we like carry ourselves in a very like good manner.
Yeah.
When we like go out in public.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think that
I think most of the time that's mainly aimed at my brother if he's listening. He's not.
I honestly think a lot of that is like Midwest values.
I agree. I feel like it's something you almost expect from Midwest families.
In the Midwest, a very, very important thing in almost every household is just to be a good person.
Yeah, and just have manners.
Yeah, be polite and be nice.
Like I remember like if I went over to like friends' houses and they like didn't say like please and thank you, I was always like so shook
and
as
uncomfortable.
A kid. So uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was like out to eat with my friend and her family, and my parents raised us to always put like the napkin in our lap because it's just like good manners.
Yeah.
And so I remember doing that wherever we were eating, but I think it was at like a fast food place because like we were literally children.
Yeah.
And so they took us to like Wendy's or McDonald's or wherever. But like every single time I would always just put my napkin like in my lap.
Yeah.
And I remember my friend's brother was like, why are you putting the napkin there? And I remember being like, but it's all I know. Like, I don't know. And I remember,
why aren't you?
And then even like their mom was like, it's just like, oh, like so-and-so, like it's good manners. But then I was like, I'm so uncomfortable because like I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable because I was raised.
Yeah.
Like she was saying it was good manners and they don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the whole thing was just so uncomfortable. I was like, okay.
Oh my God.
But like that's how I want to raise my kids. Like I want them to be like good mannered.
Yeah.
Or well mannered.
Yeah.
Good mannered. I want my kids to be well mannered.
I thought that sounded right, if I'm being honest. We also, then this goes along with like good manners. We were not allowed, like if we had a friend over, I feel like the most common example was like in the summertime, we'd have a friend hanging out all day and then we'd want to have a sleepover. Yeah. So we'd have to ask if we can have a sleepover.
Yeah, same.
If I asked in front of the other kid that was there, I got in trouble. Like that was a private conversation between me and my parents. Oh. I was not allowed to ask in front of the kid. And if I did and they said no and I said, please, please, and like begged and like tried to convince them, that was like a big no-no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's such a good one. I don't remember doing that.
Yeah, that was like a weird thing they had. But I
like that.
I think the most important thing to me that my parents did for like us kids is they showed us like such a good example of like a healthy, happy relationship. I've never seen my parents fight. Like they are just incredible to each other. And I think it does a lot. Like I think it shows like the sons of the children, like how to properly treat a woman. And I think it shows the women like how to properly treat a man and like not to settle for anything less than like what you had as an example, you know, like it just really set a high bar, which may be unattainable in this day and age, but like
I don't think so.
There. So yeah.
Which I think this is where it gets really interesting in conversation for the both of us because my parents' relationship was very different. My parents were married 30 years and like as a kid I remember like their relationship being like the pinnacle. Like that's what I wanted. I pretty much based my life plan off of like what they did. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like I'll graduate. I want to go to college, but like technically they had kids when they were 18, but I'm like, I'm going to finish college and then I'm going to meet my husband in college and we're going to have kids right after we graduate college. Like, and like, I want to do everything that they did.
Yeah.
And like, and I want to have a relationship like that. And, growing older and becoming an adult, you realize that not every relationship is perfect. And my parents, after 30 years of marriage, ended up getting divorced. And at this point, I was, I think, a junior in college. And it was a very rocky situation, obviously. And it's really weird to experience it as an adult because I feel like a lot of the time you hear about people's parents getting divorced when like the kids are young.
Yeah.
Or like at least
I feel like that is very common.
Yeah, like that was my experience. Like
when the kids are young or when the kids move out, I feel like are the two like big.
Yeah.
Because like they realize, oh, we don't have anything in common anymore because our kids don't live here.
But I also feel like where I grew up, I didn't know a lot of kids or like a lot of my friends, like basically all of their parents were still together.
Oh,
like
see, mine was very 50-50.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends now, like now to this day that I've known since middle school that like their parents are all still together.
Yeah, I feel like it's always been 50-50 for me. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, so my parents split quite a few years ago now. And so dealing with that as an adult and like growing up in a household that like you started when you were growing up, and it was truly like a very happy like marriage between the two of them. And then I think my sister experienced a lot more than I did on like before the divorce happened front, like with fighting, whatever. And I thankfully didn't have to experience a lot of that because I was already out of the house. But yeah, like I witnessed like my parents yelling at each other, and I like witnessed things that like as a kid I probably like shouldn't have. Like I say that sounds like so like sus, but like I don't know, just as a kid seeing your parents fight or yell at each other, I don't know, I just wish I never had heard that as a child. But like unfortunately like that was the household that I grew up in, and it was a very, very good household. And we were very privileged, so I don't want that to come off wrong either. My parents just split. Like they just, like it was the best decision for them. And I think as an adult, I've learned a lot more about relationships and seeing that happen than as a kid. And I think it was one of those things that like, obviously I'm a junior in college, like I understand relationships for the most part at this point. Like I know I'm an adult. I know that no one's perfect. But when it's like your own parents, you're like, oh shit. Like I thought that was perfect for so long.
Yeah.
So I think like as an adult and as that age, you just learn a lot.
Yeah.
In like a rapid like fire kind of way. And I think it has like, I know that if I have kids and at some point, if I'm married, that my husband and I decide that we shouldn't still be married, but we have children together, I think I would handle it totally differently.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I learned from that process that I would bring to my future children if I were to be, unfortunately, in that situation, which isn't uncommon nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, I love hearing you talk about that because it was just so different for me. And it's just so crazy to hear like how different our experiences were. Like everyone's experience is different, but I feel like when you're in your family and you're a kid and you're growing up and you're spending most of your time like with your family, you start to believe that whatever you're experiencing, that is the normal.
It's very interesting because I think we've both learned so much about relationships, but most of what you learned came from your parents, and most of what I learned came from my own dating life. Yeah. Because I feel like you learn a lot when you go through like the mistakes and the hardships and that sort of thing. Like you see a perfect, happy and perfect, and like you'd wonder how they're doing that. Yeah. But then when you see a relationship fall apart, or you are in a relationship where crazy things happen, you see like why they happen and how they happen and everything. And so then you understand like the opposite end of like what makes a relationship good, you know? Yeah.
I feel like you come at it from a very like positive perspective. Yeah. Of like, this is like the inspiration that I have for what I want. Like I see this and saw this every day growing up. Like, this is what I want in a husband. And like, as positively as I can say it as possible, I feel like I come at it in a more negative way of, like, again, no offense to my father, but like, I know certain things that I don't want and that I don't want in my future husband in the way that he like speaks to me or treats me. Because there are just, this is a tough episode. There are just things that I would change.
Yeah.
In visibility.
And you know what else is interesting about that is I feel like we approach relationships the same way. I think for me, it's maybe changed a little bit in the last year or so. But in general, when I go into a new relationship, I go in with like very positive, like this is going to be good until they let me down eventually, inevitably. Or I don't know. I feel like I go into it thinking like I think it's good until it's not. I trust until given a reason not to. Yeah. Where I feel like you go into relationships with more of the this is not going to work out. It's not going to be a thing. I'm not going to like him. I don't trust him. And you're like, trust is earned. I don't trust you until you like make me trust you. Yeah. And it's like you're going from like one end working up and I like start at the top and I work down.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like no way is
right
better.
Or wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right or wrong for sure. Maybe your way is like in a way better, but I feel like there are pros and cons to both.
Yeah. I feel like, I think because I do that so often, I've had these like crazy experiences and like heartbreaks, not really anything like nothing that dramatic, but like, I feel like I've had a lot of heartbreaks where you go into it protecting your heart a lot more. So you've still had heartbreaks, but
because I think for me
less likely.
Yeah. Cause I think for me, it came from seeing something I thought was perfect fall apart. You know what I mean? And so I think in my eyes, I'm like, oh my gosh, like if something was that perfect and fell apart, then like this man that I swiped on Hinge is not like, you know what I mean? Like, so like, I feel like I'm coming at it like from seeing that happen and like seeing like, I don't know, just seeing like the more negative side.
Yeah. And I think I go
into what could happen.
Yeah. I go into it like, oh, this guy has been so great on date one. He's probably just great all the time.
I'm like, every first date, I'm like, nah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like most of the time I don't actually like, it takes a lot for a guy to get a second date. But when I do like someone, I'm like, I think very positively of them immediately. Like once I decide I like them. And then over time, I'm like, like, is that a quality I'd want in a future husband? Is that a quality I'd want in like the father of my children? And then I really start thinking about it a lot deeper. And then I start like kind of seeing the full picture. Yeah. Where you like see the full picture and then can like chip away at the things that like.
Yeah, I feel like.
I don't know if that made any sense.
No, I think I understand. Like, I feel like I come at it with, I don't trust this person, but as the more I hang out with them, like the more of their like traits that I like start to, I guess, like admire.
And you just like you build trust with them slowly. But like the more they prove to you, the more you trust them.
Yes, I'm a very slow burner. Very, very slow. Like there are people that have been in my life for like a very long time and I still wouldn't tell you that I trust them 100%. Yeah. And that's just a me problem. Well, I'm in therapy. It's
I don't know, because you really can't trust anyone when you really think about it.
No, and I've been through quite a few situations that it's just.
Isn't it crazy like how even just one situation can like
mess you
fuck you up forever?
Yeah. Forever. Yeah.
Because you trusted yourself so much in your trust for that other person and then you were like so wrong.
Yeah. You start to question yourself.
Yeah, you're like, I can't even trust myself anymore because I trusted this person. Yeah. It's kind of sad. Kind of fucked up.
Yeah, we should probably talk about something else.
Yep.
I do want to say, at the end of the day, I had a very good childhood. I don't want anything I said to come off like I think otherwise.
Yeah.
Especially if my parents are listening to this. I like looking at it like I wouldn't change anything about my childhood.
Yeah.
Because it made me who I am.
Yeah.
And it made my family what it is. And it's what made our family, period. And I was very, very privileged as a kid, and I grew up in a very, very good home. And my parents also gave us basically everything we ever wanted. And yeah, I wouldn't change anything about my childhood, so I don't want it to come off like that. It's very important to me that I don't offend anyone with this one. I don't know, it's a very tough topic because it's not something that like is openly talked about.
Yeah.
Especially with my family. And yeah, so I don't want to come off ungrateful because I'm very grateful for the childhood that I had and the privilege and the opportunities that I had growing up that not a lot of kids get.
I don't think it's ungrateful at all. I think it's just like it's just your story and like what happened and like how things turned out.
Yeah, and it's not unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my life is unique. No one has ever lived the same exact life I have.
Right.
But like people get pretty damn close.
Yeah, the situation is not unique.
Yeah, the situation is not unique. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't want to come off as like ungrateful by any means.
I don't think you have at all.
Okay. I feel like we could probably talk about that for like 5 more hours.
We could, for sure. We probably will after we stop recording.
Yeah, probably, to be honest. And I think for the sake of you guys, we'll stop here.
We'll wrap it
up. Thank you for listening.
I am very interested if anyone has anything that they want to share. Like, what are some things that your parents did that you loved or that you would change? Like, I want to know. Yeah.
If you want to share and are open, you can email us, couch.chronicles@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram at couch_chronicles, TikTok at couch.chronicles, or you can just comment on our YouTube.
Yeah. At Kouch Khronicles.
Yeah.
Is every single one different?
Yeah. Couch dot is
TikTok and
Gmail. Gmail the same.
Okay.
We are trying our best to stay on our schedule again, posting our episodes every Friday mornings.
Yeah. There is some travel coming up next month, so be ready for delays.
Thanks for listening.
We love you guys.
Love you. Okay.
See you next week. Okay. Bye.